there are more people to interview, then let the police know, absent witness, that this investigation could continue on.
So respectfully, yes, that message must be communicated and get out there. But there's a population that, how you just articulated and stated that, they're not exegeting that. They're not breaking that down in a way that makes sense to them.
Then how can
All
we
they
do it?
hear. So what I'm suggesting is that in making that and sending that message and making that statement, instead of please don't take this offensively, but instead of a general or a bland way, saying very specifically, we want justice. If they hear it from the city and hear it from the police department that we want justice, and this is just the first step, this is just the first stage. If we discern that there is additional evidence out there, and the way that we get that evidence is for you who were there to bring that evidence to us, because all we have is these surrounding cameras and the few that have been interviewed by the police department.
I tried to address that very strongly at the press conference today. Your very words, because we're on the same mindset of that. As it relates to the evidence, the video angles are always good to see from various sides, so we want to take more videos. Very interested in the audio. There's a lot of audio we don't have. I'd really like to know what some other things were said, because I've heard the rumors too, and I want to try to piece that piece together. And realize this is the county attorney made his decision because we had to at the moment, because we couldn't legally hold the guy anymore unless he was going to charge him. That audio missing piece is important to me.
So last thing I'll say, I don't want to dominate, but the last thing I'll say is then, is there consideration of charges being brought against the father who seemed to have instigated this situation when he put his hands on, whether it was a youth, young adult, whoever it was, when he pushed that person, that then incited the others to then take action, and as Don Klein stated, he hauled off and punched him, he was knocked back 10 feet or however far. You know, it was that part of that instigation and the fact that Jake, so we don't know, we're not privy to this information, but the fact that his father was there, it would suggest to me that since Jake, that's his name, right, Jake, drove all the way from Lincoln or wherever he's from, after making his Facebook post and going down to do a fire watch or whatever. And so since he drove down there with intention to do that, his father being there, you know, it just sounds like to me that they were there, they had intentions of doing something. And and since he owns a bar, I think one critical piece, and someone mentioned it, it was my sentiments already, but someone mentioned in an earlier meeting, he's at a bar, he owns this bar. Was there alcohol or drugs being used at that time?
Right.
You know, so all those things are questions and concerns that I have.
Some of his Facebook posts as well. Kind of curious. Well, James doesn't have a voice in this, and that's why we want to get as much audio and video as we can. Because we're missing some audio, and that's very important. And yes, on his dad, we're looking at that angle as well. But the problem with this is we're just a couple days into it, and we're also in the middle of a situation where the National Guard's in our city. So it's been very hard to get to all those angles after just 1 or 2 days. But yes, the investigation's still ongoing.
So what I hear though is just reiterating that message with regard to other things that you're investigating as part of what the community wants to hear. And I think, you know, you said today, but I think it can be said more clearly what Tony was talking about with regard to how you deliver that message. And I think that's important feedback.
I think we deliver that when we get that, at this point, let's try to get that done. And then whatever those additional charges could or should be, then we'll disseminate that at that time. That's the reason. What do you think we need to do?
Well, but my concern is the timing of that.
Right.
Because people want to know now that you're continuing to look at other charges, even if, so, and I want to speak for everybody, what I just heard was, okay, even if you accept that it makes sense that Don Klein had to make a decision on the murder charge because he could only hold the suspect so long, right? That's law, okay?
Right.
and he doesn't have the information to be able to charge him right now. The fact that there are other investigations going on in other parts of the case, I don't know if that has come out. That's clear.
Okay. We'll
I
try to
think that,
make-
I think that is something that.
We'll
maybe
try to
if
make
it's
that
the city
clear.
prosecutor's office or whatever, I think that could be that is something that could be communicated clearly.
And
But I wouldn't say
That's what I'm
that
saying,
putting that
respectfully
out
in terms of
there
the limit.
really addresses what people are seeking. Because a concealed carry charge doesn't equate, what people are looking for is the validation that this child was murdered with a murder charge, right? So I think you can put it out there and some people are gonna feel like, oh, some things are happening. But for many people, that's like asking for a steak and you giving me a piece of bologna, right? So in that space of what people are seeking, we also need to hear about the intended impact of what's being said, because when I listened to the press conference, asking for additional videos, it landed on me that we need to prove that this child was taken from us. That we need to find the video, we need to find the evidence to validate that what happened to that young person didn't have to happen. That Jake should be held culpable and accountable for that. And that our leaders, not black leaders, our leaders who are positioned, who we voted in place, who are telling us they make our city safe, that they are going to fight for our safety and our validation as much as they fight for folks who don't look like us. In addition to that, I think black people are really eager to see white people treated by the system the way we see black people treated by the system. But what I know to be true is that that's not going to happen, right? So I don't want us to set ourselves up for failure by putting out kind of a bait and switch of, yeah, the murder charge didn't happen, but we're still researching, expecting that's going to quell what folks are feeling, because that may not be the case, and you still don't have any definitive answers about what those charges could be, right? And the anger that we're processing, the healing circles we're doing with young kids every 30 minutes, the bail support that's happening, we need to really focus about the anger, the valid anger, and the valid dissonance that people are seeing between what looks like public officials and folks in the community, if there's an expectation for us to not only move past this, but move past this in a way where we grow and we figure out where restoration happens, and it's not just, let's just forget what took place.
I submit that the optics and the timing of all this is absolutely horrible. I get exactly what I know that's what people are thinking. I knew it was gonna come down to what's his charging decision? And the charging decision was made by the county attorney. Now we're all left to deal with it, including the police department. And of course, part of that is we are in just a couple days of this investigation, and a lot of people were there during a hectic, riotous atmosphere. So we do think there were people there that have some information for us that's valuable. And then, like I said, that audio piece is really big.
Of course, if his concealed to carry had expired, does that not make him carrying a weapon illegally?
Yeah, it would.
Okay, so then that means that if he's in possession of an illegal weapon and he uses that, is that not a crime? Because if I carry a weapon illegally, I got a gun charge.
There's
And then
separate charges.
And if I use that weapon while I'm carrying it and I don't have legal rights to carry it, and I kill someone, I'm gonna be charged with murder and a gun charge regardless.
Yeah, that's probably a question for Don Klein. Remember, I'm not the charge and decision maker here. But the carry concealed would be a misdemeanor, wouldn't be in Don's purview, that would be a city prosecutor issue.
You understand?
Can you open carry here?
So, first, I want to say very carefully to the three of you, there's a language problem going on here, okay? When I read the governor's statement, it says that you were appalled and angry about what happened to Mr. Floyd. That's good. We all should be. If you weren't, you would be heartless. But when you followed up in the next paragraph by saying you condemn the destruction of private property, it may seem incidental, but anger and being appalled are an emotional state, but condemnation is an action. We can't condemn that, oh, someone's door got broken, but I'm just really upset that someone got murdered. I know you may not have meant something by that, but you have to get out of the 400-foot view and get to the 40,000-foot view and realize you are addressing a people that have been continually abused by people that look like you. You have to understand that, Mr. Governor. I feel like, Chief, when you say things like, well, the optics aren't bad, that implies that, oh, maybe this just looks bad. It is bad. This isn't an optical situation.
It is bad, you're right.
This is a situation that is a total disaster. And right now, you have the calm, deliberate folk that have a vested interest in the community that want to keep things on the rails. Not everybody is going to meet this situation with this kind of temperance and deliberance and, frankly, Jesus on the situation, okay? Sending the National Guard in now is great, but 3 days ago, on Friday, I was there Friday night, we had the police there. We sent the object of the protest to the protest to stop the protest. If I burn my hand on a stove, I don't go to the sink and run it under hot water. Like, that's madness to me. I spent 10 years in the military, 4 in Iraq. We did not do things like that. If it got out of control, we sent the IA. If you're protesting us, the Iraqis went out. We didn't go out because we would incite people to start shooting. We knew better. We will shut down 72nd and Dodge for a cute little 5K. We'll shut it down for a really neat walk or whatever the case may be. But what would have happened if the unstable element was not introduced into that situation? What if instead a couple cops rolled by, threw a blockade up on Dodge, maybe on 52nd, threw a blockade down on maybe 32nd and Dodge, and gave people the space, because I was down in Lincoln when people were given the space, and what happened? Cops were praying with citizens. Cops were hugging citizens. And then what else needs to be said, and I'm going to be all the way real with you, again, I was there from 9:30 to 11:30 on Friday night. Guess what? It is no one of color trashing things. It is a bunch of kids, usually with white skin and blue hair and 7 facial tattoos, who haven't had a job and they're anarchists. They're the Bernie bros. And now we have a situation where people who had nothing to do with the madness are getting blamed for it. And then we get called, and I'm speaking about the clergy now, we get called to come in and issue this grand statement, clean this mess up. It's too late. Ms. Mayor, you say at the end of the day, you say, we want to go back to normal. It's as difficult as going back in the pandemic.
I know, but I have never blamed anybody.
No, I know, not you
This,
personally, Chief. Not you personally. And I was not trying to
This is
imply
not,
you
the
personally.
riots and the problems we had nothing to do with Omaha, and definitely had nothing to do with North Omaha. And I tried to be
That
clear
needs
as
to be
possible
said
on that.
publicly,
Yeah.
very, very
I-
affirmatively and publicly. Because there is an optics problem.
It's been said.
And when we have a president that will call people thugs, Hillbilly in Florida, when he hears thugs, isn't thinking little white college dropout anarchists. He's thinking people that look like my friends, that look like my children. And then I have my children come to my office crying at night. People aren't taking my blackness serious. They're going to Versace and getting a free shirt. They're getting beaten up in the streets and nobody cares. My 15-year-old daughter said it to me last night. What the hell do I tell her? Answer that question, please. That wasn't rhetorical.
I mean, you've been speaking very eloquently. What did you tell her? I'd like to know.
I told her that some people can't see the glass when it's half full. Some people don't see the trees when they're standing in the forest, but God sees everything, and that she has to have faith. That the same people that brought every group of oppressed people out is the same God who's got his hand on this situation. And that faith should dictate our actions and our response in every situation. And sometimes that requires flipping tables.
So I have a question. So I understand that you're still processing what the investigation could go on. I'm not trying to take away from that. What I'm trying to understand is, what are we going to do now that this is out here? Now that this is out here, what are we going to do to make sure that our young people don't want to go out and be angry and do something that then we as a community are then possibly could be burying another child because of their emotions and their actions. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 17-year-old. And they wanted to go out with their friends so bad and protest. And I'm like, there's no way on this earth I could let you go out there, and I'm sitting here fighting this fight, and the first thing someone says is, oh, I know who your mom is. and you're out here doing something and get involved in something and no one knows, a police officer doesn't know that your mom's out here fighting a good fight, we don't know that. I am terrified as to what's gonna happen. I am terrified for our black young men, because if they go out there and they see somebody pulling up in, last night when we were driving from the Malcolm X Center, you see vehicles with men in it with helmets, silk metal helmets on their head, and they're riding in a big Ford truck and they're 25 deep in North High School parking lot. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to see when you drive past the Northeast Precinct, you see all these Washington County vehicles, and they're out there just laughing and high-fiving and stuff. They don't understand that we are scared right now. So all I need you to do is figure out what you're going to do to protect us, and how do we send this message so we do not tear up our own damn city, because right now we can't, once we tear it up, are you going to come in and fix it? What do we do? I don't want to see those kids marching down there mad. You blocked off downtown. They can't come here now. Where are they going to come? I listened to the scanner. Y'all pushed them. You pushed them all the way from where they started to 10th Street, then you came over to Douglas. Once they hit that parking lot, that field where the old Civic Auditorium was, I just knew they were coming north. Slapping my clothes, thinking, what do we do? How do we come together? Because we have to stop them. So what do we go for and do now to protect it? What message do we send to bring calmness until we can get the right answers that technically need to be done for James? He needs justice.
Yeah, I think well said. And that's part of the reason we're meeting today, is what can be done to keep the community safe and calm. Look, this is the absolute worst time I have ever had as chief, because I have spent the body of my work for 8 years developing relationships with the most respected people I've ever dealt with. Now I have to police a city that's upset, and a lot of the reason that it's upset doesn't have anything to do with Omaha police. And then we're the focal point of it. And there's two approaches that we have to take. One, as I have my law enforcement approach, where we couldn't sustain it anymore. Now we have the National Guard here assisting us. I've kept them in a background role. I have to try to keep the city safe for right now, and then we need to have that message that we can build off of from here. And part of this is, what is the right message? Because these elite, look, I know everybody in this room, the leaders, okay? There's a reason, is Leo here?
Yeah,
There's a reason his event went off as good as it did. 1,000 people. There's a reason for that. So that's why we're convening here. I guess we're trying to leverage everybody's help to have the city be as safe as possible. We're also here to listen for any ideas that we can come up with. Sure, I can handle the schematics of the law enforcement piece, but there's so much more to it than this, as you touched on. So much more. Yes.
First off, thanks for the opportunity, and respectful to everything that everyone has said. But my question still remains, since I'm probably tired of hearing you talk. There are several things that are still left in the gray area in regards specifically to the case of why we're here.
Right.
And those gray area things are the things that, from my perspective, should have led us to draw the conclusion to use the law to benefit what is best for our city. And here's what I mean. In most cases, in some cases, if a young brother kills another brother in our community and we have not figured out whether or not he is guilty of that murder charge or not,
right,
he remains in jail, in custody, because there's other charges that are pending on him. Like, you can keep him in jail for his gun license being expired. You can keep him in jail on the charge of possibly assault with a deadly weapon, because in the video he shot behind him and he don't know where that bullet is going to go. You can keep him in jail for the other charges that we are now speaking of, right?
Yeah.
And so if we use the law to our advantage for the sake of our city, in my opinion, Mr. Gardner is still in jail right now, and Mr. Klein is now forced to make a rush to judgment in regards to the murder charge.
Yeah,
So I'm
I know.
Go ahead.
First of all, the way that you, the arguments you made this morning before I had to leave, I thought were very good, really good. We thought of that too. Okay, what can we come up with here? What can be done? The CCW charges is a citation or $50 bond. He throws a number down, he walks out. We wanted him to interview with us, so that we, you know, what do you got to say? We tried any felony that we looked for any felony at all to present. And everything was presented. And the county attorney made that decision. Yes, we could have arrested for the CCW, and it would have, I was worried about that looking like I was somehow patronizing everybody by arresting for something they didn't ask for, they can do $100 bond. So I didn't know how to really address that.
My question-
And the real issue at hand was, did he commit a homicide, whatever degree or not?
Right.
And
So what about him firing the gun behind him when no one was no one was on top of him the first shot?
Right.
And Mr. Klein described that as a warning shot, which the brother just mentioned again. And if he's a concealed weapons carrier, he's been trained, he's supposedly been trained, he knows there's no such thing as a warning shot. He mentioned in his description of his stance on self-defense as the warning shots being the main motive behind that, saying that the warning shots made it to where that they should have known he had a gun, right? So the fact that now we can erase the warning shots from the thought process because he's not supposed to do that, and there's no such thing as a warning shot. I'm not a gun person, but if I was trying to warn you, I'm not directing the bullet before any man, I'll shoot it in the air if I'm gonna warn
Right.
somebody, or I would show my weapon and let it be known that I have a gun. Now I'm protecting myself. But if I'm struggling and I'm trying to do what I'm doing, I'm trying to oppose harm on someone. And if I'm trying to oppose harm on someone, then in my opinion, the reason why we're here, and let me add this to the equation. I don't know about the rest of them, and I can't speak for them, but I'm saying this. If Mr. Klein is not here and we can't try to get to some type of resolution, then hearing me complain and cry really not gonna do nothing. What I really wanna know is how can we use the law to our advantage? And if we have people in the room who have the power and the authority on behalf of the people to act the best for the city of Omaha, then that's what I wanna do. And I feel like charges should be brought up because a young man's life was taken. You cannot take away the human factor in this. You heard me? The human factor means someone is dead, someone is alive. You took Mr. Gardner's opinion, Mr. Klein said. I took Mr. Gardner said he shot 2 warning shots. Mr. Gardner said that he felt in danger for his life. What is Mr. Skurlock saying? Nothing, because he's dead. So from our perspective, if you want to make our city be at rest, arrest that man, put him in jail, and continue the investigation. And while you're continuing the investigation, we can come to our people and ask, is there more evidence? Send all the evidence here. Send the videos here. Send the first-hand accounts here. But while we're doing that, put him in jail. March him down to the county office in handcuffs with his lawyers in hand and put him in jail until you figure it out. Don't release him. Don't release another statement about what could happen and we're sorry. Don't say sorry, act. Because if not, no one in this room and anyone that yields and say that they can, they're lying, can control what will happen. If the kids and the people, not just kids, grown, ignorant people too, that will go out and try to tear up our city. And like Sister said, I know y'all will let them tear up Northside before you let them tear up 172nd Center. I know you will. So if that's not what we're gonna do, then what are we talking about?
not if I can help it. I'll say this, we did present all those factors, including the factor of, was that a warning shot or not? Or was that an intentional shot at somebody? That's why I like camera angles and things like that to come in and the audio and pieces like that. Was that a warning shot? presented all of that. We looked for, trust me, we presented it.
But what about
And I'm-
the detective?
and I'm
The
saying-
detective, the detective that decided to not charge this
They
man.
didn't decide that.
So that's what, but you heard Mr.
That's
Klein
not
say
their-
that. You
no,
heard
I
him
said,
say
well,
that.
that's not their decision.
So who decides whether or not, who
Who
decides?
decides the charge goes to the county attorney.
So the police
So-
have no.
As to who's charged with the
Yeah.
crime, we don't have a role in that.
Don
What
said in
what he
there
said
before-
was, what he said was that the detectives said that it was self-defense. That was their report.
What Don said is that collectively, included your command, detectives, and everyone, he said you all collectively looked at the evidence. He said he came to the police department. He said he spent hours here, and they went through all the evidence. And so first of all, I'm in agreement with everything that he just said. I second that, I feel that. But in addition to that, not only should he be arrested and detained while this process is unfolding, but if Don said that this Jake guy admitted that it was a warning shot, so there's no ambiguity there.
Right.
It came out of his mouth and it came out of Don's mouth. And that being the case, that's enough grounds right there that man should still be in jail.
When all of this was presented, I was at the final meeting, and I wish everybody could have been in that meeting to see how we reacted and how all the conversations took place. Okay, because one of the things that we were very strong on, wait a minute here, this is a pretty sensitive thing. Is there any other felony that we can maneuver right now to detain Mr. Gardner? Trust me, I pushed it. Okay? The county attorney did not feel like it was. And whatever else was said on that, I don't know, but that's what happened.
I don't think it's fair, Chief, that you're here answering questions for him. And with the power in the room, right? If the governor came in from Lincoln and the mayor is here and the chief of police is here, I feel like, and this is my opinion, I'm not speaking for everybody, why isn't Mr. Klein here to answer these questions? Because you can't. You said that several times. And in reality, well, I know you can't, right? But you're here in uniform representing the city of Omaha's police department.
As the
Not
scapegoat.
personal. We're talking to the badge, not you, right? And because your counterpart in this decision is not here answering the questions with you, it puts you at a disadvantage. And these good people that people elected, right, are now supposed to answer questions, and they're gonna say, well, we can't answer that. Then why are we talking?
Right.
Well, let me just make a comment
Pacification.
about that though, because number one, Don Klein is the Douglas County attorney. He's not even under my jurisdiction whatsoever. He's elected by you all.
Why is he here?
He responds and answers to the citizens like every elected official does. What we thought is after he explained today, and I couldn't even listen to all of it, what he explained, how he had made that decision, we thought that went on and on and on for about an hour or so. We thought now is the time that the governor, myself, and Chief Schmutter could sit down with you and answer any other questions you had for us.
Well,
I
and I'll
can't-
take responsibility for Don Klein not being.
Yeah, I
Because
can.
I did not think to invite him. So,
You in a building somewhere? No, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, he's not in the police anymore.
Might I put some context to it? Because look how far black people have to go to get done what would normally happen to a black man if that was a black man that shot a white kid. Look how far we have to go. You have now another black man shot by a white man, and again, what comes across the TV? No charges, no indictment, no grand jury, no trial, no sentences. This is slipping through our fingers. Well, we could normally control it, we can't. Dr. King said writing is the language of the unheard. There is no justice in this system in America for black people. It's not broken. It works. It just doesn't work for us. I've been through it, I know. You're stoking a frustration The dog whistles that come for our president, Mr. Governor, Mrs. Mayor, are enough. That I would call, I'm trying to be Christian. The dog whistles that come to him, to white privileged America, is enough. Now you're saying, this is the state of Nebraska. I've only been here 3 years, but I've got to know it a little bit. Now you're saying that a white man killed a black man, basically stand your ground, and it's okay. What have you just sent? What message has just been sent to them idiots outside who are carrying guns, who tried to pull me over one night and shoot me when I just got in town on 132nd, driving in a Jeep with the Confederate flag and the Trump support flag? That's what we're dealing with. It's the context of a people who are hurting so bad. There's no release. It's like an infection or swelling that has to get out. We can't, as pastors, go before have a press conference and say, calm down. Calm down for what? Rodney King happened 30 years ago. The first tape of excessive force and brutality, 30 years ago. 30 years and 6 days later, it's gotten worse. Qualified immunity has come in. Those kind of things has made it worse. So what I'm saying to you is this. When those things that they're saying, the conversation that comes out, Mr. Mayor, when you stood up and you said, it's a travesty what happened, that helped me with you. It did. That needs to be said in a broader context with the people. But understand something. They're not trying to hear it no more. Right. They're not trying to hear it saying we shall overcome. Hold hands in kumbaya. They want answers. They want the 3 officers in Minnesota arrested. They want this man convicted of murder. Right? There is no time for vague conversation in the context of whether this man had a warning shot or not. Was it illegal? Did he have the gun? Was it illegal? There's no time for that, Mr. Klein. I don't even know who the man is. That's what you just gave to a people who are beyond desperate. They're not taking it no more. Do you understand the context? Look how far, how many white groups have to sit here and ask these questions? It's the frustration of the community. I'm not blaming every white person. I'm saying, please understand the context of what black people have. The knee has been on the neck for years. I'm a pastor in this town. I get profiled. I'm a pastor. I've been a pastor. I get followed through grocery stores. Women clutch their purses on elevators when I get on the elevator. You didn't, Ms. Mayor, thank you. But white women do that to me now. This is a reality. The stress has gone too far. And the system from top to bottom. And you have a president in the White House stoking it. Your president, Mr. Mayor, that Republican president stoking it. And it has come to Omaha. It's through my fingers. I can't get up, I can't leave out of a press conference and say, you guys calm down. For what? For nothing to happen again? And so we have to come out of here, brothers and sisters, with no answers. Great questions, no answers. There will be no, from my opinion, I've been through this is my 30-year career doing this. My opinion, there will be no charges, there will be no indictment, he will go free. And he will be a hero to the militia. In the Nebraska City, wherever they are. He will be a hero. And they will think that now they have the right to stand your ground. Just like Trayvon, no, you can't. Just like Trayvon Martin did. I didn't mean to be disrespectful, but I'm not done. Just like Trayvon Martin did. It's in the system. So there's a virus, 2 viruses, COVID and racism. I don't mean to preach, but I'm being real. Both of them have a knee on our neck, and what's the result? We can't breathe. So what I'm saying to us is, because we have to go this far for answers that are so vague just when it's no charges, is the reason why these kids want to tear up this place. So it leaves us in a perplexing position as pastors. What do we say to our congregants? What do we say to their congregants' families and these young kids that have no outlet? So I want to give you some context to that. I know we're talking about the case. There's some answers Mr. Klein has to, but we always get, he's not available, he's not here. We never get answers. So that's what I want to address today. Thank you.
Everything you expressed there, very good. And realize in part, the arrangement to have the community come meet with Don this morning was in part arranged by us, because we wanted him to hear this side of things. okay? We wanted him to hear it. And then those community members that met with him, I thought they pushed out a very good message. And I just wanted, for the sake of relationships, I just wanted to let that be known.
Can we got a young person in the room.
I got a little
Talking
time.
about young people, can I hear from Leo?
Chief, thank you for giving us the time.
I want to talk to you. Go ahead.
Chief, thank you for giving us the time to host our rally at the Malcolm X Foundation. Our intent, we believe, was met, which was to encourage the so-called protesters to not protest, to be more strategic about what they're doing, not random about what they're doing.
Can I say
So-
something to you?
Yes, sure.
You might be the only person in the world that could control the outside rioters that came in here, so I'm very,
Thank you.
and I knew you would too.
Thank you, thank you. How many pastors are in this room? Just by hand, show of hands. Okay, I got a joke. Sorry, y'all. It's a little tense in here. I just gotta crack a joke real quick. How many pastors does it take to change the hearts and minds of a mayor, a governor, and a police chief?
Not one.
How many pastors does it take?
Lord, change the
Because this is the thing. That's what we're here to do right now. We ain't coming in here to actually talk about solutions. What we're here to do, your job today, is to convince these three people to make sure those charges get filed, period. To stop this city from going up in smoke. Now the second part of that is, you're a governor, you're a chief, and you're a mayor. And what stain do you want on your history when this city goes up and these young people start burning it down? How many bodies do you want on your history? Because that's what's at stake, period. That's what got all of us in this room. I don't want bodies under my leadership at the Malcolm X Memorial Foundation. That's why we took the most precautions. We worked with police. We worked with whoever we could to make sure that wasn't happening, because I don't want those bodies on my heart. Y'all don't want those bodies on your heart. Period. You don't want to be the mayor, the governor, the chief that the insurrection kicked off at. Because Gabrielle Union from Omaha, Nebraska just tweeted today, hashtag James Sturlock, another one. Again, and again, Black Lives Matter. That means this thing is nationwide. And we right now are the very focus. How we respond is how the world responds. Period. I understand that. I hope y'all understand how deep this is. This ain't about us just getting a little justice in Little North Omaha. We are going to be the citadel of every single city in this nation. And you have a real decision to make. I don't know if y'all think about this, but I do. And you probably do. I would assume you do because you're leadership. But please understand that your job as pastors in this room and community leaders is to convince these three people to bring up those charges. That's all we're here to do. Because we're already going to go out and try to quell the violence in our community. That's what we're already doing. We're going to do that. We're going to do that on the sake of we want to live. So we're not here to tell them what we're going to do and give y'all a bunch of strategy on how we're going to try to take care of the people, because we all got loved ones that live in Northeast Omaha. That's all we're going to naturally do that. Our job today is to convince y'all to just say, look, we're going to go ahead and file some charges. I don't care if we got to pull them out of our behind to stop the violence, because we don't want our record to have the stains of the blood of the people that died because they went out in the streets emotional because the county attorney decided that there wasn't enough, quote, evidence. That's all.
Let me, here lies the problem though. The governor and I and the chief, we don't have the authority to charge him. That only comes from the Douglas County attorney.
Police
So I
do.
guess my question is, what can we do?
Police do.
No, we can't.
My moral in this is we have the ability to detain and arrest, not charge.
When you arrest, if a person shot somebody and you go to the scene and you declare that whatever you assess, I don't know how it's assessed, but how do you put a person in jail and then book them? Because I got charged with felony whatever, and they took me downtown and I had a felony before I even got there. So how does that happen?
He never got charged with anything. We
How do you
detained him
never
here.
charge somebody with something?
We
So the
detained
officer,
him.
when the officer shows
We
up,
detained him as long as we could, and we tried to get
no.
charges on him.
Okay, when you arrest somebody,
And I'll say that, we tried.
when you arrest somebody, what's the process? You arrest them, you put them in cuffs.
Right.
You say you are being detained?
Well, when you arrest somebody, you have charges on them.
Who gives the charges though?
Okay, you list the charges, you go to the jail and you put them in jail. Those are the charges. We
Who
didn't
does
have
that?
any charges on him.
No, who
We
does
didn't-
that?
We didn't have any charges on him, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So we tried to get charges on him. We
Why
presented
not?
that to-
Why wasn't there in the initial, when
they
the
said it was
police officer
self-defense.
initially intercepted this man and sees a dead body, and they're trying to resuscitate the dead body, and then they look and there's a suspect right there, you say, suspect,
We went and got him.
death, handcuffs,
Yep, that's what we did.
why don't you charge? How do you get to the charge part?
So Leo, can I say one thing?
Please give me context, I'm just trying to understand
So,
how you get to the charge.
arrested as in handcuffs,
Mhm.
comes to Central Police Headquarters, is interviewed by detectives. Because at
Detectives,
that
okay.
time, they have to assess the scene, they have to look for witnesses, they have to look for, anybody that's willing to come forward.
Mhm.
So I think the chief talked about it earlier today, how there's some other people that probably saw it, that we don't know anything about it.
Mhm.
And asking them to come forward to be interviewed if you do have some type of evidence. So he was detained, he came down here, he was interviewed by the homicide detectives. And the decision through conversation, consultation, the evidence that they had at that time, it was the county attorney's decision to say, according to law, this is something else that we talked about this on the phone the other day. Knowing what the law says, because I hear a lot of people all the time, they'll say, oh, why not first degree murder versus
Right.
manslaughter?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was the process that took place. The county attorney decided, based on the interview and what the Jake said or whatnot, he gave his version of events. We've already established that the young man is unable to give his.
Just for a second, hold on. I mean, literally, I've been arrested, given charges. So who gave me the charges? I don't talk to detectives on certain charges. Who determines when you talk to a detective and when you don't? If I got into a fight right now,
I get what you're saying.
and they
You
put
said
cuffs
you
on
got
me,
booked. They said you
typically,
been booked
they
to
say,
be such and
yeah, as
such.
soon as I get to the station, they say, I ask them, what are my charges? And they tell me, sign all these papers.
Yeah.
And those papers are, come up here, fill this out, and it's, you got assault charge, you got a whatever charge. I'm saying, I didn't talk to no detectives when I
On
got
death
there.
investigations, before any booking can be done.
On
it's
what-
gotta be
what investigation?
Death investigation.
Death,
Absolutely.
specifically.
That goes only through the county attorney.
Is that specifically just for deaths?
Yeah.
There's sexual assaults and different things
Yeah.
like that, depending on the.
Major crimes that all go through the
Capital
county
crimes.
attorney. Yeah.
So
Okay.
basically you're saying that for a petty crime, you can hold me and charge me instantly, but for a crime that is monumental, sexual assault, death, now you can give him due process, he can go.
Yeah, the county attorney makes the decision on that because that's just the way it is. It's a large crime. He wants to review the evidence. He makes the charging decision on that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Can I ask a
Go
question
on.
real quick?
Sure.
Just on that process line, because
Yeah,
Pastor and others are saying, what are some possible solutions? So I just want to ask a question. If the county attorney will not file a charge, and who else can? Is there a process in Nebraska that says this person can now bring this case because
Well,
this,
I
don't
think
know.
I don't know what the legality of it is. I'm a little naked on this because these are questions probably for attorneys. I don't know what the legality is on the grand jury, but I said that I would be supportive of that, if you heard me. And then I don't know if the Attorney General can step in and do charges. I know that they have come in before and have taken over cases, so that's something to look at.
Marty knows about the grand jury because we looked it up today. Got the information.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marty Bulick. I'm the mayor's chief of staff. I anticipated a question about a grand jury process, so I contacted our city attorney, our prosecutor to be exact, to find out just what the options are with regard to a grand jury, and here's what it is. The county attorney himself has the ability to call for a grand jury investigation. Basically what that would be is just asking the grand jury to second guess his wisdom and maybe review what he's already decided. The other way that you can call for a grand jury is you can petition. So if 10% of the electorate, in other words, the voters in Douglas County, sign a petition, and just so you know, I did some quick math, be about 35,000 people, sign a petition calling for a grand jury,
it'll happen for that reason. Those are the two ways.
So thank you. Y'all ready?
Okay,
yeah. Okay, we ready? Okay, that's the 35,000 people, we need to sign the petition.
I'll give you the exact.
Let's get that copy. So that's what it is, right?
I want to,
Right.
before you go, so you got, I just want to make sure I'm hearing correctly, you're all hearing it. One route is petition. What other routes exist in the state of
The
Nebraska?
other route is if we get some different video angles and stuff, remember that first shot, was that a warning shot? What was that? Well, we have the version of the, can't remember his name, the guy who owns that place now.
Oh, the surveillance camera.
Yeah, so we would like to see, I'd love to see some different angles on that, and then the audio piece is missing, so there's that aspect, and then there's the petition aspect, so there's two that we thought we should.
Chief, I'm not sure, maybe this has been discussed, but what's the process by which a person communicates and their evidence, or how does that work?
What happens is the homicide detectives will put together a case, and then they will have the county's attorneys come over and present all the evidence.
No, I mean, how, if I was there that day and I took some video.
Right.
How do I get that to you?
Call us, drop it off to us, call us, hand it over to a police officer. 80 days.
Got a question over here. Yeah, let me make a statement. You all asked, what can you do, specifically to the governor, the chief, and to the mayor. I don't think that you can afford to be neutral and throw up your hands with regard to what Klein has done or not have done. I want to know if you agree with his decision, and if you don't, say so.
With that, I'd like to say this. Obviously, if you are concerned with the decision he made, I already know what Chief, you know, from our meeting this morning. But with the governor and Mayor Stockton, you already know there's a problem with the decision, because you wouldn't call me down here, or you wouldn't call us down here, because you're afraid that what? Things are gonna pop off, because you know that this is what? Not the right decision. And so therefore, you need us to what? Try to make sure that what? We keep things at what? Ease and peace with our community. Now, I just want everybody, don't be fooled by a grand jury. Even with a grand jury, those who know grand juries always gonna follow the lead of the district attorney. In all my years of dealing with that, a district attorney, he's gonna sway whatever verdict he wants to come from a grand jury, that's what he's gonna get. The other thing I like to say this, and I'm to be done. Governor and mayor, you all got to start calling out and speaking out on things when it's wrong is wrong. You all know a lot of statements many times that the president makes and get up and do and say and what have you. You're silent. You don't speak out and say this is wrong with what he's done. Because what? You don't want to hurt your political gain or what have you when the election time comes. And so therefore what? You keep quiet. You don't, and so when you keep quiet, don't speak up, when you're in a position to speak up, then guess what? People are going to continue to do whatever. But when many people start speaking up, then guess what? They'll stop doing these things, or people get them out of office. He reflects you. He reflects your party. What he looks like, you look like. I'm not Republican, not Democrat either. I'm independent. I vote issues, not party. But I guarantee you, I would want somebody who's going to reflect me if they're going to be in office. Another thing, man, you can't wait until after things get to a point, now you want to bring us in. There used to be a time when you met with us as concerned clergy, what have you, and often. But when we call your card or what have you, you get uncomfortable, then what? You cut it out. You don't do that anymore.
No, that's not true.
But that's where it comes from.
Can we not argue?
I'm not arguing, but I'm just trying to help us understand, how do we go forward and address issues along with this as well?
Hold on. The statement on the table was, the statement on the table is, do you agree? That was
with
the
his
question.
decision,
Yeah, roll call.
so that we know where you stand. And if you don't agree, make it known. That's what you can do for us.
I'll just start with that, because here's how I feel about it. I don't know, because I didn't do the investigation. I never am part of a criminal investigation, and I never should be. So the first time I saw that video was today when it was on TV. So I couldn't make up my mind and give you an answer, which would be my opinion, unless I was privy to all of the investigation. I was privy to all the evidence. I was able to talk to the people. I haven't done that, so I can't say that honestly to you. I never try to come out and say, this is right and this is wrong, if I don't have all of the information. So it's hard for me.
Did your client not tell y'all what his
Hey,
decision was this
can-
morning before he did the press conference?
Did
Did you not know what he was going to say at his press
I
conference?
did not.
tried to call him
I
today.
tried to call him numerous times this morning. I sent him text messages, and I actually, the last one I sent him, I said, call me ASAP, because I may not agree with what you're gonna say.
Well,
But
who
he
shut
did-
down,
he
who
did not
shut
call me
down
back.
the offices? Who shut down the city?
Hey, can I say
You
something?
mean the city hall?
Yeah, who shut it down?
That was Paul Cohen, who's the building commission.
All we need is a yes,
That's
no,
the
I don't
city.
know.
Yeah, it's yes or no. Don't answer.
Yes, no, I don't know, cause we gotta.
Pardon me?
That's right.
I would just like to say, if we're gonna be honest about this, right? Me and my brother right here are probably the youngest people in the room, right? So if we're gonna talk about speaking on behalf of anybody's generation, I respect all my elders and I love all y'all kindly and dearly. So where we at right now, if we're gonna be honest, from either side, there's nothing we're going to be able to do. What has been cultivating within this country throughout the history is going to happen regardless, any way, shape, or form. We can't place an unrealistic amount of responsibility on these people, and we don't even know the full context of how the government is ran. We can't expect for this to happen and this to happen, and we don't even understand the basics of voting. So like, I understand you guys' positions as far as like, there's a reason why there's a governor, there's a reason why there's a mayor. So for us as the people though, right, we can't realistically look to them for certain solutions because certain solutions don't have a due process. We're talking about the hearts of men, and you cannot change that with a law, a barricade that don't mean nothing. People have locks on their doors every day and they get kicked in. We always have new malware and someone comes and invents a new virus. So this shit, excuse my French, has already been boiling and cultivating. And just from my opinion, I don't think it's fair for us to try to point blame at them because we're using them as scapegoats. And I'm not saying I'm on either whatever side. I'm saying that I can see this from like a rational point, and like we're all hurting, but there's a difference between justice and vengeance. That's the one thing I do know. If we're looking for justice, that's a whole nother thing. A lot of people are just looking for vengeance and they want blood. They want a sacrifice in return. That's not righteous. That's all I can say.
I have a question. This would be, I'm sorry, whatever.
Sorry, I think Mr. Love had his hand up for a while. Can we defer to him and then we'll come back to you? I apologize. Go ahead, Mr. Love.
And it's only fitting that I speak now because I'm the oldest man in the room.
Bless up.
And because of that, I'm speaking because of the years of my experience in life, going back to the civil rights days, and so many meetings like this, about so many issues like this for 50 years. So I say that, and I have a suggestion. It's a hard one for the three of you, but I've seen this happen before. That is, that the three of you go back and talk to Mr. Klein and said, I met with a room full of mostly black folks, and you all convinced him to change his mind.
Mr. Governor, let me answer your question.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt other people talking. But the answer is similar to the mayor's. I don't know, I wasn't there. I am concerned by what happened. That's just what you all said. A white man shot a black man and nothing looks like it's gonna happen. And that's why we asked for all of you to come in to listen to your concerns about where do we go from here? Because, look, I'm gonna be straight with you. It'd be way easier for all three of us if Don Klein had said, we're booking that guy on murder charges. Right? That would've been way easier for all of us. Because then the community would say, oh, look, they're actually gonna try and hold a white guy accountable, and we wouldn't have to have this meeting. But that's not what Don Klein did. And I'm not an attorney. I don't know what he, Chief explained all this stuff. And you're right, it was an oversight on my part. I should have invited Don. Don should be sitting right here so we can talk about the decision. I didn't think about that when I called the mayor and said, hey, we should reach out to you all to talk about this. So, again, I know that we got a problem because Don didn't charge the guy.
I just don't think that your neutrality, it didn't cause it, but it's surely not helping.
But again, okay, I agree. If I was sure about where I was, that would be a different story. But what am I supposed to go out and lie about it? I don't think so. That's not what you want me to do, right? So I'm here to listen, and I appreciate the feedback. It's been good, genuine, honest conversation here.
Excuse me, we're gonna go back to Pastor over here. I see your hand, and then Chris, after you talk, Chris is gonna talk.
Again, appreciate the forum. All of us in here are busy community leaders in our own right. Everybody in this room, a valuable time. I'm trying to register the purpose of this meeting in my own mind. I speak for myself, as Brother Shannon said. We came here asking questions. Some questions can't get answered. I just need to know, what is it? And I would like to hear from the governor and mayor. What is it that you want us to do? Because obviously, I have the same passion, my brother, Pastor Parker. The floodgates are open. As soon as nightfall, here it comes. There's nothing I can go back to my congregation, my community, and say, hey, guys, hold on. I heard something, just hold them back. Right. And then what struck me, hit home, and I'm done, is what I heard, I believe Sister Precious said. We're pushing them out of downtown. First we're at 72nd, and I noticed how we protected all the businesses. I was out there both nights. I saw how all the fireballs more or less really excited them, the young folks that were there. Right. Then they come downtown. I'm in real estate. We gotta protect downtown. We got $1 million condos down here. We got big businesses down here. So now we push them. And I'm with Sister Precious. We're gonna push them down 24. I see it in my mind. I hope this is not the case, but I see we're gonna burn up our area of our city that's already kind of trying to get it right again. And all of a sudden we're gonna burn from 24 down to 30th and Lake, and National Guard's gonna surround us and let us do what we need to do. And then we come back for funds. We may not be able to get them to rebuild it. It's already happened before the past. So I need some clarity before I leave, because I'm a busy man myself. Pastor, 5 kids, just like everybody else. But I'm not getting answers, number one. Number two, what is it that you want us to do? I mean, I like to hear the mayor, because my other challenge is this, and I apologize for the delay. But we weren't asked to, some of us weren't asked to come in the room before. Right. I mean, I know, my understanding is probably some select leaders, but Governor, I hear you say, I talked to North Omaha leaders. Matter of fact, I was on Preston Love's show about a month ago. You said, I've talked to some clergy in the city. Well, I called my brothers, a few of my brothers, and they said, I ain't hear nothing. Then we asked you, who would you talk to? And it was, let me talk to the guy who, I forgot his name. Let me ask him. Why don't you call it? No, I don't need to call him. So I want to hear from the mayor, what is it that you really want from us? I hear you talking about suggestions. We're asking questions, but ain't getting answers. What is it that you want us to do, Mayor and Mr. Governor, to try to hold back the gates, because they're coming?
I would say work with us. Tell us what you think are the issues. Tell us what things that you think we can do better. Understand that none of us are that wise that we know everything. We feel like that we all have a goal of the same thing, I believe. I think we all want our community to be better. I think we all want to be respected. I mean, I've said this many times, You know, diversity is not just the color of your skin, it's also your gender. And let me tell you, my little, journey, wasn't that easy either, because I'm a woman. I mean, I've got slammed for my gender over and over and over, so don't think I'm a stranger to any of this. But what I wanna know from all of us, we all live in this community, we all want it safe, we all want it to be better, and it can be better if we work together. And that's why I think that today, not knowing this morning what Don Klein was gonna say, and I tried multiple times to get a hold of him, I told the chief I couldn't get a hold of him, but we anticipated that in the middle of what has been going on here over the last 3 days, that if it went a certain direction, that we needed to be able to sit and talk and listen and say, okay, where do we go from here? You know, I mean it, I don't have the authority to file charges against anybody. I never have, a mayor of the city, never has. And I can't influence him to change his mind. I can certainly talk to him, and I tried.
I'm asking, so you want us to work with?
So,
I want you, I want us to work together. I don't wanna say to work with me.
I think
want us to
everybody
work
in this
together.
room's goal is to keep people safe.
Your goal.
Okay, well, nobody wants to keep, I mean, okay, I will, okay, fine. My goal is to keep people safe. And and the reason that I asked you to come here is not to do something, but to have the conversation, to hear what you had to say, to listen. That's why I came here.
Let me just say, when you talk about safety, you're talking about one thing, and we're talking about something else. When we talk about safety, we're talking about being safe from people who ought to be our protectors. We're talking about being safe in spite of the fact that year after year after year, we as a people are terrorized because of the color of our skin. And nobody seems to want to take responsibility for it. Nobody says, yeah, I did it. Because racism is institutionalized, not just in America, but in this city. And many of us could give you examples over and over and over again of how we run up against institutional racism. So when we talk about being safe, we'd like to have a fair and even playing ground. We would like for there to be justice so that whether Jake was a black man or a white man, and James was a black young man or a white young man, they would have been treated the same. And that does not happen. So when you talk about safety, what you mean is, I can keep my lawns neat and manicured, I can send my children to school, and they can get a good education. We need just the right to exist and survive and possibly make a living.
With all due respect.
And so I want you to hear that, and I want you to see that.
With all due respect, I appreciate, and I take that away from this conversation, we are talking about two different things with regard to safety. But I absolutely object with the way you characterize the way I said safety about manicured lawns. My safety that I'm talking about is making sure another young man doesn't die because he gets shot by someone. That's what I'm talking about, safety.
But your policies don't betray that.
Right.
Okay, hey, look,
Your
where
policies
the
don't
hell were
betray
all of you guys when I was trying to get?
Excuse me? What did you just say?
Hold up.
LB 791. Hey, look.
I'm real nice.
Please excuse me. Please excuse me. LB 791 was a bill to hold. I apologize.
Okay, Governor, let me just say this. Hold on, guys. Let me say something.
Where the hell was you guys?
I understand what you're saying. First of all, I want to say thank you for having this meeting. Chief, Mayor, Governor. We may not always agree. And I know I go